Welcome back. You're watching Signature Television, and we're switching gears with some sort of health information, especially as it relates to WASH. We're talking gender and WASH. We have with us in the studio a WASH expert who would give us an insight into the activities as it relates to health, hygiene, and WASH. We have with us Theodora Waruka. She's a WASH expert. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Charles, and good morning, Joshua. It's good to be here.
How do you do?
I'm very well. And how do you do?
I'm good. I'm good. So let's just start off with WASH. What is WASH, and why is it important?
Okay. WASH is just an acronym for Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene. That's it.
Okay, so now help us relate it to gender, because at first we've had conversation about WASH before, and then gender wasn't coming up, and then it was just a natural conversation. But help us understand why WASH has so much significance with gender.
Okay, so for the purpose of this conversation, gender will be meaning male and female.
Yes,
we are not discussing other genders.
Yes.
Yes, femininity and masculinity.
Yes.
Okay, so WASH and gender, it is really very important to incorporate WASH in transformative, to incorporate gender in transformative WASH implementation, from planning, designing, and the rest of it. Because if we have a certain gender that is not being catered for in decision making, in the design of facilities, implementation of programs, even monitoring indicators, then we wouldn't be covering everyone everywhere. And I know that Sustainable Development Goals is strict about having everyone everywhere having access to water, sanitation, and hygiene under SDG 6.
How much of hygiene do you think that Nigeria have? You know, when you mention things like this, people don't really pay attention because it is not money, it is not economy. You know, when you talk about health, you can rarely count the amount of persons who even do tests for themselves. You know, but do you think that Nigerians are going by the rules stated by the WASH initiative?
Okay, so I will be referencing the WASH norms, WASH routine monitoring, WASH norm 2021, that's the latest. So the WASH norm 2021 shows a very huge retrogression from 2019 study to 2021. There's a 3% drop from access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. And then for basically hygiene, only 43% of Nigerians have access to hygiene facilities. Yes, and currently as we speak, there is no profound water, sanitation, and hygiene national policy. So do we really say that Nigeria is up on the top of achieving SDGs with that? I wouldn't know. So it's left for all of us and maybe our listeners to decide on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you go by regions, which state would you say have the highest when it comes to the best hygienic region?
Okay, I don't have that up first, but it's in the study. Actually, we can reference the study, but I don't have it up there right now. Yeah.
Now, we want to know how important it is for women to be in leadership position when it comes to WASH programs. Because of course, we understand that when it comes to hygiene and treating waters properly, I know of course both male and female should have personal hygiene and should enjoy clean water and all of that, but we know for a certainty that for women is much more important. So how do you think women in leadership position will do much more?
Okay, I'm glad that the question is coming from a man, because the idea has been that we see gender as women thing. But since that question came up, it is very important that we are involved in decision making for key things that affect us. So you can attest with me, even studies of UNICEF and WHO 2023, it was said that most of the time, it is women that go to fetch water at home. It is the girl child that goes to fetch water. In an African setting, it's perceived that the work in the kitchen is the work of a girl or work of a woman. It's the woman that mans the kitchen, and kitchen is where water, not necessarily everyone knowing that water is everybody's responsibility. We brush our teeth. I'm sure you brushed your teeth this morning. You bathed with water. You drank water. So water should be everybody's responsibility. But the cultural setting we saw ourselves, it is more of women's responsibility. So leaving them out in the key decision-making positions for this thing that affects them much, it's going to drag us backwards. Because when you bring me on board to discuss what affects me, I know how it affects me, and I can, suggest ideas on how to ameliorate or, block those gaps that makes certain things affect me. So that is it. And currently, studies from Wash Matters shows that it's only 29% of women are in key decision-making position when it comes to WASH in the water agencies, ministries, departments, and agencies, even CSOs. It's oftentimes men.
Why do you think this is?
It's a study, not thinking.
No, I know. Why do you think that more women are not into it? Do you think it's due to politics or them not being just really, there's a factor of there's an avenue, there's a platform for these positions, and then there are people who are actually willing to go into it. Do you think a lot of women have enough knowledge and willpower to want to be in that position?
Yeah, a lot of women have the knowledge, and they are even, they have the will, they have the zeal to be in those positions. But of course, we're in men's world, where men rule, decide what happens. Again, we can embark on studies that really determine why women are not. But currently, women are not. The why is what I do not know.
Okay, how can communities be more engaged in some of these WASH initiatives?
Yeah, the best and nearest people to the society, as we perceive, are the CSOs. So we believe that when we train the CSOs and engage them and strengthen their capacities on the gaps between male and female when it comes to WASH intervention designs and planning, when we train them on budget trend analysis for WASH, when we train them on the different gender-friendly designs for WASH, that is when they will go down to the grassroots, to also do a step-down training for the community members. Again, also, there is need for us to engage key decision makers in the communities who are the custodians of those laws and cultures and beliefs, and norms that inhibit women from, participating fully when it comes to WASH decision making. So,
what are the larger issues and problems that can come to be when WASH is not being looked into in various states?
We will not attain the SDG 6. Yeah, there's likelihood we will not attain the SDG 6 by 2030.
Wow. That is scary and alarming. So what can we do now? How can we raise awareness? Of course, this is an awareness. This is one of the ways we can raise awareness. Yeah. How can we go to schools and educate girls and boys, of course, on things to do?
So it's to sustain the already existing institutions and the structures set up both in the communities, in the schools and the societies. For instance, in schools, WaterAid has supported a lot of schools to establish environmental health clubs in schools, and teachers who are also trained to be environmental health coordinators. So it's to keep strengthening them for them to be able to transfer this knowledge to both the ones graduating and the ones coming up. Then in the society, at the government level, it's for us to have the necessary laws, policies, and regulatory frameworks that are aligned to the SDGs, to the attainment of SDG 6. Then when it comes to society also, it's for us to be aware on the indices that currently exist when it comes to WASH.
How do you collaborate with private sectors and investors?
Entrepreneurship. So they have CSR, corporate social responsibilities. It is high time we, kind of make a big shift from road construction and all those things and understand the importance of water, sanitation, and hygiene. Actually, water, sanitation, and hygiene SDG 6 is the only SDG that cuts across the rest of the 16. It has a lot to do with health. It has a lot to do with girl-child education. It has a lot to do with everything, even climate change.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's sensitizing them to be able to do their CSR along wash infrastructural development, wash facility constructions, not just facility, but adopting gender-friendly facilities where we have the menstrual hygiene facilities for the girl child, where we have segregated compartments for boys and girls, where we also have enough adequate security and protection for the girl child, who might even want to use the toilet with the boys and get raped and the rest of it. I don't want to go into that much.
You have a training coming up in Enugu tomorrow. What is the training about, and how can people participate?
Yes, WaterAid Nigeria is supporting Enugu State to facilitate. Okay, fine. We conducted a study of the budget releases in the last 4 years when it comes to washing Enugu State. And then the key findings are out there. Part of the trainings that will happen between today, tomorrow, and the next is to validate that this is the information, this information is actual, this what is happening in Enugu. Afterwards, we don't just validate, we also train the CSOs, key partners, private sector on how the necessary tools used for the conduct of analysis. Because we want people to own up, understand their rights, then ask the duty bearers questions, accountability. You'll be able to assess from 2019 to now, how much has been released for budgeted for WASH? How much has been released? What percentage of the total state budgets amounts for WASH? You will come to realize that it's not up to 0.3%. Yes, it's that bad. Even in addition to that, currently Enugu State do not have a WASH policy. So it's part of the support we're giving them to see if they can review the draft WASH policy, get it approved and implemented with an implementation strategy in line with the African Sanitation Policy Guideline, ASPG.
So this WASH policy is supposed to be state-wise domesticated.
Yes.
And some states haven't done so, and Enugu is one of the states that haven't done so.
Yes, Enugu State is one of the states that are yet to approve their WASH policy. So there's no policy in Enugu State. They have a water law, but there is no WASH policy in Enugu State, yes.
So does this training herald this assistance in helping the government establish one?
WaterAid has been supporting Enugu State from time in over 10 years. WaterAid has been in Enugu State supporting the WASH sector. Okay, for instance, there is no clear organogram for WASH in Enugu State. Yes, who is supposed to man the rural water supply and sanitation agency? What is supposed to be the qualities or qualifications for such a person? I mean, who does what? What are the departments? You know, those things don't exist. They are just living in, and then the WASH units still exist. Although I heard that there is a declaration that the departments will be set up, but also having a WASH policy will help to cement that effort of having a WASH department, because having departments without the necessary policies and having it updated in the law, another government can come up and say, I want it back a unit, but having it in the law makes it more cemented.
Wow.
Okay, so before you discussed something about having to be the decision mentor when we're discussing about how women are not in that position of leadership when it comes to WASH initiatives and all of that. What are the other key challenges to achieving that gender-sensitive WASH service by, let's say, 2030?
Challenges to achieving WASH gender-sensitive?
Yes. Let me take that again. The key challenges to achieving gender-sensitive WASH service by 2030. Okay,
first of all, we need to accept it that women are marginalized when it comes to being at the decision-making position for WASH program designing, planning, and implementation. We can further do more studies. Even AMCAO recognized that one of the challenges of not attaining so far the SDGs in Africa is because women are still not involved. Gender segregation is still not the key indicators that are very important to ascertain the percentages of the various genders' involvement are not there. So we can start with working with the Bureau for Statistics, National Bureau for Statistics, to have those indicators that shows who does what genders are lacking. We should be able to have a balance of 50-50 where you have every gender doing what they ought to do. And then having also every gender represented in the key decision-making panel or platforms. Yeah. So having them, being represented in the table where decisions are made. Like currently we're having the review of national wash policy, and then we have WaterAid supported the Nigerian government to set up a technical committee on water and sanitation, who will be responsible for ensuring that indices of sanitation and hygiene are well balanced in the document, because over the time it's been water and infrastructures. Then again, we've supported them to develop a gender brief. The gender brief will help to incorporate those aspects of the gender that's been over the years, not well reflected in other documents. Yeah.
Okay, you spoke earlier about the money is released for this initiative in the last 4 years, and the training is going to basically train people to track the money and track the activities. I'm just wondering, with what you have seen so far, do you think that what we have right now is commensurate with what the amount of monies have been released?
I wouldn't know. I'm not in the government of Enugu State. I wouldn't know. Our own is to do an assessment, qualitative, quantitative, do the study, present the figures out there, the outcome of the survey. Then the government people, CSOs, will validate and adopt it, own it, that this is the current. So until that report is validated, I cannot speak to it. This is what we'll be doing today, validating the WASH budget trend analysis report.
How do you want to take this out to other? Is it just for the southeast? I believe it's for the whole Nigeria.
So WaterAid is currently focusing in Lagos State and Lagos State and Bauchi State, and Enugu is a complementary states. That is why we're still in Enugu State. Okay. So this study, we conducted it at the national level, where we visited the line MDS, ministry, departments, and agencies in Bauchi State, which is our focus state, and then Enugu State, which is our complementary state. So this will have advocacy in Enugu State. You can now pick up the document, the report, and develop a policy brief, go to the government officials and say, since 2019, this is how much has been released for wash services, for trainings, for infrastructures, and the rest, both in school, health facilities, open places like motor parks and markets, because these are key public places. This is what has been budgeted for. This is what has been released. Perhaps, oftentimes, the releases are not commensurate with the budgets. Okay, yeah. So we're advocating for more releases, for them to prioritize WASH and understand that WASH has a key link to other SDGs. And for us to attain SDG 6 in Nigeria, in Enugu State in particular, there is need for us to heighten efforts towards increased budgetary allocation for WASH in Enugu State.
Okay. Sorry, before you ask, the reason why I was asking is because I wanted to know if we would, after this year or next year, you're going to go to other states, because states like Kano has a lot of, first of all, it has a number, the population there is huge, and then I've been to Kano, and then of course you won't hear or see much of WASH, just like you've been saying and advocating for. So I was wondering if there was still plan to visit states like this.
Okay, so WaterAid is not taking up the responsibility of the government. Our responsibility majorly is to create awareness on what exists and happens, and use it to advocate. While we advocate, just like this is a television program, yes, we advocate publicly for wider coverage, for other people to learn and use it to make the necessary amendments.
Okay, so how much of a budget, of a state budget, do you think should go to WASH in order to make it effective if everything goes as planned?
We are advocating for wider coverage. I wouldn't know the percentage of the funds. It's the gap that will determine the amounts. Yeah, if the state government is planning to have 1 billion naira for this year for all the sectors, is the gap in WASH that would determine, that would make me suggest, okay, this should be for WASH. The gap in the various states differs. Yeah, so I wouldn't know.
Well, thank you very much. This has been an interesting conversation, honestly, for me, because, just like I said before, I've had this conversation with someone before, and we just discussed wash, the technicalities, testing of waters, delivering waters to the urban and to the rural areas, but never really did thought that it did matter that much when it comes to gender. It was really nice to have this conversation with you and to bring light to this. But before you go, do you have anything you would like to add to?
So yeah, in addition to this conversation, I would like to also emphasize on the importance of policies, legislative documents for service provision, and then coordination is very key. If the sector is not being coordinated, then everybody will be doing what seems, and no reports, no coordination, no synergy. It affects also funding, because a lot of money will be flying out, nobody monitors what. And then again, having network of CSOs, a functional network of CSOs who, time in time, they can get up to say, we're going to this ministry to ascertain what they've been doing over the past 1 year. Government is 1 year or 2 years now. What have you been able to do in the wash sector? What are your key priorities? What have you achieved? If you've not the gaps, why are there these gaps? And since they are independent, they can use it for advocacy purposes. So just to highlight the importance of prioritizing wash for us to attain the SDGs by 2030, and then prioritizing the approval of the Enugu State Wash Policy, and then strengthening the key CSOs network and NGOs. That's it.
All right. What role do you think that school-based wash programs play in helping with gender inequality?
Okay, so there's this popular saying, when you catch them young, it's sustained. So when you catch the children very young, making them to understand, as a male child, to understand that kitchen is not just for the girl child, fetching water is not just for the girl child, anybody can do it. It segregates that role of women going to fetch water and the male children and all that. So catching them young, educating them, influencing them to understand that this past notion is no longer giving us the effectiveness and the efficiency we want in the sector.
Wash is doing well in Imo State, I believe. How are you able to achieve that?
Okay. I don't want to go into Imo State talk. Okay. If I must talk about Imo State, I will get approval from the government.
Okay. Fair enough. So we're talking about wash in general terms, because again, sometimes you rarely see any form of direct budgetary allocations from the government to health sectors. You hardly even, when you hear people campaign for things across board, you hardly hear them campaign on the basis of health. Yeah. It's either they're talking about economy, they're talking about empowerment, they're talking about you. So you hardly hear anything about,
because it doesn't give them tangible results. If it's road construction, people are seeing road. Yes, people are seeing road. If I'm traveling, at least more than 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 persons travel on the road, so they are seeing what the government is doing. They are selling their markets for the next election. So, but WASH does not give you that kind of tangible results. But they should also understand the linkage. WASH has contributory factor to human index development. Those things that is used to judge the efficiency and effectiveness of government. That's per capita, human index, human development index, and the rest of it. When a child, I don't want to go into nutrition, when a child does not drink good water, they keep suffering from either dysentery, cholera, and it reduces their development. In the long run, if you have such a child like 10, 20 in 1, 2, 3, 4 communities, that's around 100. When they grow up, you have 100 of people that are not well developed, and it affects the economy. We keep resorting to whites and all those. I mean, it has a long run effect.
Apart from kids, even when adults drink bad water, I think it has a lot of effect.
It also affects them. They don't go to work, and their time and a lot.
Just like you were saying, just lately, I think 3 days ago, the federal government approved 430 billion naira for emergency road construction and this, and then you don't find this in the news that federal government has just approved maybe like 10, even the least of 10 million naira to wash, to water and any of these things.
So we continue the sensitization, the awareness creation. We at the higher level continue advocating to the government at the higher level to also see and understand the role, the key role water, sanitation and hygiene plays to the economy, general economy, and then human development.
You've spoken about federal government, at least the state government, what they can do. What can the average man do as well?
Well, the average man is to look at those norms, those beliefs, those. If I worked in the Niger Delta, in River State some years back, and you understand that they go to the water, they have what they call pier latrines in the waterfront. That is where they defecate. And when I inquired further, I understood that that is where they go to hear news of what happens in the community. Yes, every morning they go there to hear news, not understanding the health implication of defecating directly inside the water. In those places, when you get fish and open it up, you see fresh shit inside it. Yes, and they will just remove it, wash it off, and cook and eat. Yes, so it's all about norms, beliefs, traditions, cultures. So common man should be able to disabuse their minds from those norms and beliefs and culture. In some part of northern Nigeria, you see a girl child menstruating. The girl child is, sent away from the whole other family members because she is tagged unclean. Yeah, so these are beliefs that we need to really sensitize our people to understand that it has harmful effects to both our development and the rest of it.
But do you think technology can be incorporated in helping mitigate these issues?
A whole lot.
How so?
A whole lot, yeah, technology. So when I was talking earlier, I mentioned gender-friendly designs for wash facilities. So we have gone past those days where a politician wake up and say, I did toilets for this community. WHO standards stated that a compartment of toilets should serve only 40 people at a time. So if you have a school of 200 pupils with just one compartment of toilet, it is not serving them. Yes. So technology in the sense, apart from the structural designs, which has to incorporate the menstrual hygiene factors, where the girl child can go and change their pads, the security aspect of it, having the male toilet facing backwards the female toilet for security purposes, and then the people living with disabilities, oftentimes these people will negate them. So that someone that is walking in a wheelchair can be able to access the space. Yes. The space of the door should be able to have access.
Space of the door,
yes,
actually.
And people that are very tall, not when you sit, your knees are touching the doors. All those things should be incorporated in the designs. Then hand washing facilities. Oftentimes they do toilet without hand washing facilities. And this physics has a way of getting back to our mouth when we don't wash our hands. A lot of it, technology has a great role to play. And WaterAid is even has modeled in Bauchi State a gender-friendly design that incorporates, even aside these things I mentioned, the climate aspect of it. We have been hit by climate change. Gradually, climate change is setting in. So climate change factors like the mixture of cement, understanding the topography of where you're doing the toilet, and then the design. The mixture for Enugu State may not be the same mixture for River State.
True.
So those things has to be. Yeah, so like I wanted to say before, WaterAid has supported a modeling a gender-friendly sanitation facility in Bauchi State. And Bauchi government has adopted it for both private sector and government toilets. So if other states can go ahead, like Enugu State, where we had to adopt that same design, it will go a long way to help.
Okay, in wrapping up, just give us an overview of the training and then the time and the people who can attend as it relates to the WASH initiative.
Yeah, so we're having a training of CSOs, civil society organizations, on the budget trend analysis tomorrow. This training is facilitated by WaterAid Nigeria. That's why I'm here, to support the training. So we expect the CSOs to be part of it. Although we have limited budgets, but we want to cover as much as we can to have a strengthened network of CSOs in Enugu State who can move as a team to facilitate advocacy efforts, to facilitate the changing in the narrative, to facilitate, even to speak on the approval of, review and approval of the current draft WASH policy for the state, so we can have a way forward. In line with that is also, in addition to that, is also the implementation guideline, because a policy without implementation guideline is just a document in the drawer.
So are we invited, because we're media? We're part of
the media is invited.
Time?
It's 9 a.m. tomorrow.
9 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been an amazing insight, giving us some details regarding WASH. I really, really appreciate it. And the station will be there tomorrow for us for some coverage.
Thank you.
Of the event.
Thank you. Would like that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of the program. We'll be back after this. Just stay with us.